Welcome back to another edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Raffi, as always, joined by Davian. Davian, it has been a very crazy week for me, and it's gotten crazier. I wiped out on my bike earlier today. I'm okay. Didn't chip any teeth, didn't get concussed, so we're all good. Make sure to wear a helmet, kids. Always remember the helmet. But anyways, it's been a crazy week for me. Davian, how are you? Hopefully it's been a bit of a less crazy week. I know Malik Cunningham has been crazy on the field in a good way.
Ooh, don't get me started on Malik Cunningham, bro. He's actually insane. And I think I want to get we'll talk about this more. So I want to make a whole video about this. But I think that Lamar Jackson, Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill, the way the Saints use Taysom Hill, kind of inspired so many other teams to kind of find their type of Taysom Hill. And that's exactly what Malik Cunningham is. But I've been all right. I've been doing good. I haven't wiped out on the concrete yet. I don't know, anything could happen.
Doesn't taste good.
But I've been just having a good time right before I go off to college. So I'm off to Cornell tomorrow. Well, let me hold up a little Cornell sticker. So yeah, it should be fun. I'm hoping I can work for the football team. So maybe I'll find the next Ryan Fitzpatrick in the Ivy Leagues. Just absolute gunner out there.
Or maybe you will be the next.
Maybe I will. Yeah.
I mean, David, how tall are you? 6'4"? I haven't seen you in person yet. I think you said
yeah,
like 6'4",
definitely 6'4". Just add 1 foot less. Yeah, and then you're all good there. Yeah. I'm 5'4", people. It's a struggle out here. Short kings rise up.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do need to give a shout out to our TikTok page. We've been actually insane. Shout out to Carlos. Again, for anybody who's watching new, Carlos is one of the members of the Benchwarmer Sports, but he's joined the podcast, but he hasn't joined in the new kind of modern era, I guess you could say. But yeah, and I would like to place a picture right here of Carlos with a very special someone. Yeah, okay. Either way, point is, let's talk sports. Raffi, hit it.
That was a terrible transition. This is why I do the transitions here. But anyways, we'll get right into it, and we'll do my favorite thing. One of my favorite things, at least. One is making fun of the Maple Leafs, which I always do enjoy doing. Another thing is watching Tom Brady do something stupid, which I also like. The other thing... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, what do you mean stupid? He invested in a football team. Well, soccer.
Yeah, and then he also makes poor investments, but that's a whole other podcast for another day.
Yeah, we could talk about that too.
The Women's World Cup. So obviously the Women's World Cup are in the semifinals. We're getting closer and closer to crowning a champion. And I don't care. The women's team was terrible against Sweden. They could not capitalize on their chances. David, what did we say? They have all these great shots, but they're not capitalizing. They're not getting shots. They're not getting high danger scoring chances. The ball is not going into the net. They need to change it up. And what do? Nothing. They didn't learn. They thought they could walk right through this tournament and with the trophy, they're like, we got this. It's not that hard. And they got it, and they lost to Sweden in penalties, and they deserve it. Also watching Megan Rapinoe sky penalty and then proceed to laugh. I don't know why that's funny to you. I've laughed before in bowling when I shank a shot, but that's a bowling league Tuesday night, not the Women's World Cup in the first round where you're representing the entire country. So I think those are two different stages, because my bowling league definitely is more important, which, by the way, we did win. So that was great.
Congratulations, Raffi. I agree with that, though. I mean, we do need to be honest, right? The Sweden team is very good. They're off in the semifinals right now against Spain. The issue is, we have a whole conversation about the culture of the team and whatnot, but I mean, while culture is a fact of the matter, it's coaching. Look, the coach before this man's that we have right here right now was amazing. Like, she served for the team for years and years and had a system in place. Had a good culture and everything, and the team was a winning team all the time. Nowadays, it's just it was mentioned many times in the World Cup broadcast that other teams are catching up, and that's true. As access to women's soccer grows around the world, these teams that the U.S. is playing are going to get better. The same way that it's basketball is more competitive. Baseball is more competitive on international level. Sports are getting more competitive. They're no longer American dominated. American sports are no longer just dominated by Americans. I will say this, though. I think that the issue is coaching and less so gameplay. I think that gameplay comes from coaching. The reason why they couldn't get those shots in the back of the net. Alex Morgan said, like, I don't know. I think the answer is simply, look, it's the coach. You have to you have to train to create strategic chances to actually be able to score instead of just like a free-for-all, as I said last week and the week before, a free-for-all for just, kicking the ball into the net, trying to get the ball into the net. It's disappointing. Got the Olympics coming up next year. Hopefully they're able to rebound. And it's not hope. They have to rebound. And they need to get rid of the coach now. And if not now, then if they don't succeed in the next World Cup, he has to be out the door. There's no way you could keep him. I will say there is one bright side about this women's team. They have a good future. Rodman, Smith, all those girls are women, sorry. They're amazing. They're really good players, and I'm excited to see what happens there. As the old guard kind of like steps down, Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan coming up soon probably. It'll be interesting to see how the younglings play, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, still, it's like, I don't know if you saw the Megan Rapinoe highlight reel, and if you haven't, I highly recommend it, where she just misses a bunch of shots and just plays terrible.
Yeah.
The corners that she was taking, like it was the 80th or 90th minute of the game versus Sweden. I'm watching this. Megan Rapinoe, first corner, hits the side of the net.
Yeah.
Second corner, they proceed to trot her out again, just misses again. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, she's just shanking. She's not good. Alex Morgan, I know we all love Alex Morgan a lot more than Megan Rapinoe, at least. She wasn't very good. She was getting too much time. I agree. It was coaching. But again, too, it's like you expect your star players to show up. I personally I'm just disappointed.
Rapinoe came off the bench, and she should have stayed on the bench. Simple as that. That game against Sweden, she should not have been playing. You miss a corner, you don't trot that same person out there. That's not how it works. That penalty shot should not have been taken by her, right? Could have been anybody else. I think Smith, I didn't watch the game. I'm not sure who took the penalties, but shouldn't have been her. I think that, Alex Morgan just, at times, like, she just had a good shooting, like, opportunities. They just wouldn't go into the back of the net. Like, goalie would do a great save, but good amount of times, again, I felt like it was coaching. Like, she would get the ball and she would kind of like, she wasn't expecting it. Like, you should be expecting the ball, right? So player and the coach, you're right, Raffi. It's blame on, it's a team. Blame doesn't go on one person. It goes on everybody. Every day.
I just think that this hopefully will be a learning experience for them, and they'll learn from this because, again, it didn't look good. They didn't represent the country very well, and we can get all into like the politics and all that fun stuff, but like, it's still something that needs to be brought up. Megan Rapinoe, arguably, everyone's talking about her legacy, and Fox Soccer was posting all this stuff about, oh, we're losing a legend now. Oh, she's going now. I was crying throughout. I know, Davian, you were probably crying as well. The thought of Megan Rapinoe not playing another soccer game with a USA jersey on. So tragic. But Davian, let's be straight up here. Megan Rapinoe has ruined women's soccer and the perception of women's soccer across the United States. A lot of people, I feel like a lot more people liked women's soccer 4 years ago before all this nonsense than they do right now.
That's an interesting take. I agree with you to an extent. I think that the sport's continuing to grow. I think the issue is that, she became the face of the women's team. Exactly. And that just shouldn't have been the case because, ignoring all politics, she's not a leader out there, really. Alex Morgan, she was the face of the team, 4 years ago, like during the last World Cup, right? That's like, during that, like, she was the head of the team. She controlled the culture in some ways. When that flipped over to Megan, I think that's where kind of the team went bad. But again, also, it's not one person, right? It's a culture thing, and it starts from it. Screw just coaching, right? It goes to the entire federation, right? The U.S. Federation has put a ton of focus on really, trying to find ways to appease the players without really kind of at any point putting their foot down and saying, like, look, we have to with actually kind of pushing in, getting new coaches, getting new staff, getting I felt like a lot of focus also went on the men's team, which to an extent I think that worked, right? I mean, the Migos men's team is getting way, way better than it was at least 4 years ago. But in that switch of focusing on the men's team, I felt like less resources or focus was put on the women's team, which could be part of the blame as to why they played so poorly.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, too, you're representing your country, and I think it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth when one of the faces of that team, and it's all about representing your country, as I mentioned, openly has criticized. It's perfectly fine to criticize your country. We saw Iran do it during the World Cup, the Men's World Cup, and that was for good reason why they were doing that. This is something completely different. We're so privileged to be living in such a great country, and for her to just act like a victim and victim blame, and it just did not sit well with a lot of people who wanted to support the U.S. women's team. And once again, their cockiness too, I think, just caught up to them. But that's for another day. People, if you don't want, I know we've been criticized for talking about the Women's World Cup before. You can come in now, take off your
yeah.
etc. You can listen to the rest of the podcast now. Don't worry, we're not going to be talking about the Women's World Cup the rest of the way. Now, moving on, the college football rankings released their preseason day. People, I have not done enough research really to talk too much about this. I do want to mention that Texas has not been as overhyped as they normally are. They're at 11, and honestly, this year for Quinn Ewers' first season with Texas, I think there should be a lot more hype around Texas. Honestly, this is the first year where I think it would have been warranted if they were placed in the top 10. They're placed at 11, so it's not too bad, but still.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that just I don't like these rankings. I never like these rankings, honestly.
Where's Cornell?
Yeah, where's Cornell at, huh? No. Honestly, look, top 5, I respect it, all right? Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, LSU, right? All very good teams. USC at 6, makes sense. Penn State at 7, questionable, but, I see it. And then, and then you got Florida State, Clemson, the Atlantic Coast teams. That's fine. Then you got, Tennessee at 12. I think they could have been higher. But then you got Notre Dame at 13. Why is Notre Dame at 13? Why are they anywhere near the top 15? They should be, if you're going to rank them, they should be ranked in the 20s, right? They're not, you can't actually compare Notre Dame to any of these other teams. They don't play in a league, right? And because of that, you can't, their first game of the season is against Navy, all right? That says something, all right? They're not a team that should be anywhere near the AP top 25 poll unless they have beaten ranked teams, which in the past year, they really haven't. So you want to rank them in top 25? Fine. Top 15, though? Are you kidding me? Over Oregon, over Kansas State, over TCU? All amazing teams. Also, why is Wisconsin at 19? Just throwing that out there, just a bit odd. I'm kind of disappointed at Tulane's only at 24. I felt like they could be higher. Iowa 25 after such a poor year last year. That's a bit of a surprise as well. But yeah.
See, but Iowa's defense has still got that Big Ten defense, and they're still a good team overall. They have Cade McNamara coming in from Michigan. I know he wasn't too fondly remembered by a lot of Michigan fans, but at the end of the day, I think I probably would be a bit better than Spencer Petras. I wouldn't say by too much, but I would say that I would be a little bit better, and I'd have to imagine I'd score more than 3 points a game offensively. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, I don't expect to be walking on because I'm at Illinois, and they need me to be the quarterback there. So unfortunately, I can't transfer. So that's my main reason why I'm not going to Iowa to play quarterback for them. Anywho, Notre Dame, I will get back to them because I know that I personally, and I know you do as well, we love dogging on Notre Dame, and they deserve it. They are a fraudulent program that gets blown out every single time they make the college football playoff, and they have an easy schedule every single year. But this year, I will applaud them because they don't have as much of a cakewalk schedule as they normally have. They are playing USC, they're playing Clemson at Clemson, they're playing at home versus Ohio State, They also are playing at NC State as well. So Notre Dame, congratulations. Welcome to actually being a team with a somewhat difficult schedule. So I'll give them that. But I don't think it changes the thing that I still have no respect for them. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I personally always would rather have Notre Dame just not be ranked. But that's I don't think that's realistic for me to do. Another thing too is Georgia is going to be interesting because Carson Beck is slated as their potential quarterback. He's been in the system for the past 4 years, so he's kind of going that Stetson Bennett route. We'll see what happens though, because again, we know the defense is going to be good. We know that team's going to be good, but my big concern when I'm looking at a team, and we'll get into this, I think next week when we do a college football playoff prediction show. I like to pick quarterbacks. I like to pick teams with quarterbacks who are coming back at least after 1 year. Obviously, we've seen Burrow before. Yeah. We know Alabama continues to churn out their quarterbacks, so you have teams where you can rely on and say, okay, like this team, they'll be back next year even with a new quarterback. Alabama, I always trust. I think it's foolish to underrate them. Ohio State, another team. Michigan's interesting. They're bringing back a lot of people, so I wouldn't be shocked if Michigan is right back up in the top 4. I'm very excited for Michigan versus the Ohio State. USC is going to be very interesting with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, obviously highly touted as first overall pick, likely to the Arizona Cardinals because they are probably going to have at least 2 picks in the top 5 and very well might have the first overall pick with Kyler Murray being out for half the season. Now, if Theodore was on here, he would correct me and say even with Kyler Murray, the Cardinals would be worse than with him. So that's a whole other debate to have another day. But I think USC, if there was a year for the Pac-12 to get back into the college football playoffs for the first time since I believe 2014, the first year they had it with Oregon, I think this would be the year.
I agree with that. Yeah. I wonder, like, what happens if they make it in terms of like the realignment of of college football and what happens in the future with what colleges join the Pac-12 and the SEC and whatnot, and of course the Big Ten, which is now they don't have like East and West anymore, so that's gonna be interesting as well. Either way, like this is gonna be a very interesting year because it isn't. Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the last year before the 12 team format, right, for the playoffs.
Yes, it is. And it's the last year, and then Texas, and then we see all the great shift of everyone moving around. And pardon me, Derek May was the guy that I was thinking of, and that he goes to North Carolina. So let me correct myself there. But yes. First year, 12-year team playoff, and all those fun changes, conference realignment will be happening next year after this one.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be good for the sport or bad. I think it'll be kind of bad because, it'll kind of look like it'll be less so like these players will kind of be like treated as like NFL players, like in terms of like NIL deals and whatnot. So it's going to be like all the rich schools are going to be able to get these players, and it's going to be less competitive. But either way, should be interesting to say the least.
Another thing that I'm interested too is Oregon, who has Bo Nix. He was pretty solid for them this past year, so I'm very intrigued. I think it really is going to – I mean, Utah is always going to be good, and they always have a team of players who are likely going to be selected very highly in the NFL draft. But that's a team where I personally feel like I don't know too much about, so I definitely have to do more research. But I think the Pac-12 is – for the last year of the Pac-12, the last hurrah, USC, Oregon, and Utah are probably your top 3. USC with Caleb Williams, I give them a slight advantage. But I think Oregon and Utah always just have more complete teams. So we'll see what happens. Again, Bo Nix, if he can take that next step, I think it's going to be a great story for him as a whole. Lastly, let's go from college to the pros. Let's talk about some teams that we think are going to be sleepers. I will start first, and I think this is pretty obvious, and I'm sure you're all expecting this, so I'm going to say exactly what you guys are thinking. The Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons are getting a very short end of the stick. Davian doesn't want to talk about it. He clearly disagrees with me. But Davian, let's be honest here. Kyle Pitts gets more targets. The Falcons have a very solid offense. They have a good offensive line. Drake London, year 2. That's going to be fun to watch. And then they've upgraded their defense. Jesse Bates. You pick up Calais Campbell, who's still very old, but still is going to get the job done. You have some intriguing players in Okuda, who got hurt, but he might be coming back soon. So we'll see what happens there. I just think the Falcons made a bunch of good moves on their defense to get better. Because let's be honest, any player that they added to their team makes their defense better because their defense was so bad last year.
Yeah.
And once again, I think Desmond Ridder is a big wild card. I liked him when I saw him in the 2-3 weeks that he played at the end of last season. So I'm expecting him to definitely do well with his surroundings. And once again, you have 3 great running backs in Cordell Patterson, who you can slot in the slot and wide receiver position. Bijan Robinson, you can use him all around on any facet of the offense. Obviously not offensive line, but aside from that, you can basically he's a gadget type player who can also carry the bulk load. And then you have Tyler Algier, who's another speedy option at running back. So I think the Falcons have the potential to be very, very good this year.
Yeah, I'll give you this. If I need to choose a sleeper team in the NFC South, it's probably gonna be the Falcons. I mean, they're a really good team, but I also want to mention that the Panthers have looked pretty good. With Bryce Young on the team, especially I know it's preseason, but he looks good. He doesn't drop back in the pocket, which is kind of strange, but I don't know if you guys have ever. I don't know, Raffi, if you've seen the highlights, but basically he snaps the ball, he takes 2 steps, and he just like stands there and throws. Kind of like almost like in the same composure as Brady did. So that's just interesting to watch. I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady, but so yeah, I mean the NFC South is so up for grabs. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons do really well, but I feel like each team has a chance for a lot of potential. Except for the Buccaneers, they're gonna struggle. They don't even have their QB. Like Baker Mayfield has been doing so bad in training camp that they might be like starting Kyle Trask, who isn't bad at all, right? He sat behind Brady for a few years, but still, I agree with that. I guess moving elsewhere in the NFC, I gotta say the Commanders, they don't look too bad. All right, they don't look too bad. Sure, they might not have a QB. But beyond the not having
I'm gonna run right over you, Davian, real quick, and just say that Sam Howell before last season was a top 10 pick. A lot of people slayed him as a very highly touted player before this past year when he wasn't too good. So there's possibilities with that untapped. There could be untapped potential there. But continue your point though.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I feel like
David's taking the sleeper segment very seriously right now.
Yes.
Taking a nap after this.
And I think their defense is also really good still. I mean, it was good last year, and I feel like it's gotten better in the offseason. So I think they'll do really well. One team that I don't expect to do well is the Cardinals. I know we're talking about sweepers, but they're actually going to be sweeping. Most likely because they just does not look good whatsoever. I gotta say the 49ers, I mean, they're amazing last year. I feel like people are kind of sleeping on them, like, oh, like Brock Purdy starting, like, are you sure that's gonna be a good fit? Like, Brock Purdy or is Trey Lance. I mean, I think that both are. I think it's just gonna be a really good team no matter who starts there. Seahawks also a very good team. Rams, I don't think so, not so much. I feel like the Rams are not going to do good this year. And you could clip me when I'm wrong when they win the NFC West, in January.
The Seahawks I feel like are intriguing. Part of me wants to continue to buy into Geno Smith, but a part of me is also like, well, we could see a massive regression. Yes, they have really just bolstered their offense as a whole. I think that they have great weapons all around. Their running back, I'm forgetting their young running back and young wide receiver name, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who they took in the first round. Yeah. I mean, you have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and you're adding another high potential weapon on your wide receiving core. You have Kenneth Walker, if he can stay healthy, that's going to be a big add. Obviously, you have your backup running back, again, a young guy. Forgetting his name, I'll look it up while you talk at the next point. But the Seahawks could be interesting, but I could also see them essentially, like, it'll go as far as Geno Smith goes. And I think the Seahawks, worst case scenario, they're not good this year. You draft your guy, and then I think the Seahawks are going to be very good once again, just like they were in the mid to early 2010s.
Yeah. People are sleeping on the Bears. Someone's got to say it. All right.
Sorry, Zach Charbonnet is the running back that I was thinking of from the Seahawks. My apologies. But yes, continue with your point.
People are sleeping on the Bears. All right. Let me just tell you this. Justin Fields.
Da Bears.
I think he's a good QB. I think Justin Fields is a good QB. You gave him weapons that he needs, right? You had a very successful draft for the most part. I think they're gonna go far this year. I think, Bears winning the NFC North, that's something we could be hearing and, potentially.
Yeah, we'll get into this in 2 weeks, but I'm a bit cautious about the Lions hype train that's going on right now, because I always feel like the teams that get and players that get hyped up the most tend to not live up to the expectations. We normally see another team fly under the radar, and that team tends to do really well. So I like the Lions as a sleeper. I hope the Lions make the playoffs this year. This is not me being a Lions hater. I'm a Lions fan, absolutely. I hope the Lions do well. But I'm just a little concerned. And yeah, the Bears are also another team that I feel like is gaining some traction just with Justin Fields. Okay. expecting him to be very good. Yes, the Bears, as we say in Chicago. So there's definitely a lot of potential for the Bears. We'll see what happens. But moving out over to the AFC, AFC is very intriguing because you can go with the Broncos, which I think are very fair because I was watching a YouTube video earlier today, and this guy who was also doing his prediction was like, there's no way the Broncos are going to be this – like, there's no way Russell Wilson is that bad. Like, I know we all have a Russell Wilson memes, but I agree. I can't imagine Russell Wilson
That's right.
just falling off that badly to where he has another poor season under Sean Payton as well. I just can't see that happening. So I think the Broncos are due for a bounce-back season.
You know, I watched the movie the other day with Sean Payton. Forgot the name of it.
You watched the Sean Payton? I'm so sorry.
Home Team. I watched it, and it kind of talks about it's played by who's the person plays it? Kevin James, right? He plays Sean Payton in that, and you know, Sean Payton's really portrayed as this this really kind of on edge type of dude, and like a really kind of rough. And I didn't really think that was the type of person he is until, you know, I saw his comments the other day about Hackett and just how he ripped on the entire organization, Broncos organization last year, which honestly, if you're coming in trying to create a culture, you know, I don't think it's good to, you know, call out everyone from last year because most of your players are from last year. You know, your QB played on the team that you just called trash last year, right? So it'll be interesting to see if he could actually create a culture there, a winning culture of some sort. But yeah, I mean, coaching upgrade is massive. And, you know, I think he could really bring in a lot for the team. And yeah, I agree. Russell Wilson, he can't be that bad for 2 years in a row. He really can't. We will talk about this later, but I think the Jets are overhyped. I'm not saying that as a Patriots fan, even though I am, but I think they are a bit overhyped.
It's also Rodgers,
I know, but
too.
Yeah,
the AFC East is very good. You have the Dolphins, who with the healthy Tua, the Dolphins are going to be very, very good, especially if they add Dalvin Cook, who they've linked. Patriots will be pretty mediocre, but nonetheless, the Patriots are coached by Bill Belichick.
Stop sleeping on the Patriots, people.
And then
Stop
I am
absolutely on the Patriots. That's what I'm saying.
It's a very competitive division, and like we said last year with the AFC West, it's a division where they could cannibalize each other and drag each other down. It's definitely a possibility.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, look, I think the Patriots are, you know, if you look at the rankings of AFCs, I think Patriots are usually bottoming it out because, I mean, we don't have anybody who's like, you know, we don't have a Josh Allen, you know, we don't have Aaron Rodgers, we don't have, you know, a Tyreek Hill, Tua kind of combo. We have Mac Jones. I love Mac Jones, but he's not Aaron Rodgers, he's not Josh Allen, he's not, well, he's better than Tua, but that's a different story. You know, the defense is good. I mean, like, look, it's kind of like it's the same Patriots team it's always been, but it's just without Tom Brady. So you can't bring in the hype that, you know, always was in, like, oh, but like Brady's QB, so like of course it could be good. Like, it's the same type of, you know, everyone likes to joke, like, you know, the Walmart cashiers and the restaurant employees and whatnot. Like, yeah, the Patriots kind of like that, but it's still like, you know, you still have exciting prospects like Malik Cunningham. I think his name is Demario Douglas, the wide receiver that we just drafted, who's been doing amazing in training camp. So yeah, I mean, I'm honestly very impressed with what the progression of the team. I don't know if they'll actually win the AFC East, but I can see the Patriots team.
That'd be
insane. That would be actually insane. If, like, as a Patriots fan, I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if they win the AFC East, because winning the AFC East is not just like, oh yeah, like you just have the most wins. You need to be beating the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
At least saying that like 10 years ago. Okay, guys, we're the Patriots. We need to beat the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills. It's going to be a tough time, but we really like. Okay, maybe like 10 years ago is right after Rex Ryan and the Jets fell off too. So it's like, it's been a while since we've had a very competitive AFC East.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. I'm very excited about it. But we'll talk about it further in the upcoming week's podcast as we get closer to the NFL season. We'll be doing our NFL whole podcast where we'll break down every single division, give our winners, break down our brackets, and reveal who we have winning the Super Bowl. We'll also do some award predictions as well. So be sure to subscribe to our channel for that. Be sure to hop on the wagon right now. We're rolling on TikTok, as Davian mentioned. So you want to be one of the OGs, definitely hit a follow button on our TikTok, Benchwarmer Sports. For Davian, for me, for Theodore, and for Carlos, who are not on the podcast but still want to shout them out, we hope you have a great rest of your day. Once again, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, like this video, tell all your friends. Have a great rest of your day. See ya.
Peace.